And we are live on. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Let me find my seat right here. And finally, I made it. Hello, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm over here with now I can say friends more than people that we have the ability to work with. United by one passion, one person that is on actually that painting. Some of you have met before. Gary Vaynerchuk has gotten us together indirectly. So today I have the pleasure and the ability to pick their brains and share this with you guys. Talk about, from school, believing 100% in their abilities, business, entrepreneurship, taking an idea from 0 to 1, which is very difficult. And these guys been doing a lot of crazy stuff, from traveling, shooting video, and creating an enterprise that maybe if you own a company here in the United States, or even, I don't know, who cares, if you're in Asia, if you're in Europe, if you're in Colombia, where I'm from, you may connect these guys. So do me a favor, why don't you introduce yourselves to my audience in Facebook, Twitter, not Twitter, I don't use Twitter that much. I do have a Twitter, but I don't use it. Tell a little bit about yourselves, and then I know that you won't do justice individually, and then I'll ask the questions about two companies, or a company and a movement. Battleborn Media Company, and then we have Venture Addicts. We'll talk about it in a second, so why don't we begin with you? And before, let me know if the sound is working, guys. Please type the word coffee, Colombian, which is what I like, just to know that it's working. So, Mac, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll ask more questions.
Sure. My name is Mac. I'm 23 years old. Like he said, a college dropout, totally different industry. I was in nursing school, dropped out of that, and now it's been a full-time producing content for both myself and then the companies that we work with. But that's the big thing, visionary content creation. That's kind of where we find ourselves.
Yep, my name is Tim Delaforce. I used to be a computer software developer. I was born in South Africa. I'm 23. Got the awesome privilege of being able to meet Mac in high school, and Jacob as well. Jacob's our editor, our third guy. And together we run a media company and a couple other enterprises as well.
That's correct. There's one more guy, another brain, that is hustling right now. Not that they are not. This is part of their job right here. Public relations and picking up clients and new contacts that will become contracts, either online or over here. So I know there's a movie called 23. I don't know if you guys seen it with Jim Carrey.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're
You should
about.
watch it. Now that you're 23. Don't wait until you're 24. If you have any questions, please write any messages over here. The idea is to understand why these guys decided to drop out of college and not to be sustained or detained by the idea that society will tell you that only if you go to school you will have a acceptance and a better life. So what's your opinion on that?
So what's the opinion on why dropping out of college,
Yeah.
or why should you go to college or something like
Yeah.
that? So I'll kind of give backstory. I grew up in a very comfortable family, and I love them more than anything in the world. They provided a very comfortable middle class life. It's great. I never had to worry about anything. But when I was in school, I would ask, in nursing school you do rotations and you go into the hospital and you work. What I would ask the nurses, I would say, hey, I'm about to be a nurse. I love, are you excited? Do you like this? Do you like this? I'm about to do what you do. And the answer was never yes. They never said they liked it.
Interesting.
And I kind of stood back and said, hey, I'm paying close to $20,000 a year to do something that people say they don't like. And I kind of stepped back, and that's kind of when I made the decision. I had a couple mentors in the entrepreneurship space that kind of pushed me, and I actually didn't have a plan when I dropped out.
You had somebody, right?
Yeah,
A neighbor?
I had a neighbor.
Yeah, this is a very cool story.
Yeah,
I didn't have that neighbor.
I had a super successful neighbor down the street, and he had the biggest house in the neighborhood. And I wrote him a letter because I was going through my internal struggles,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, hey, I'd love to get to know you. You have a Lamborghini one day and a Ferrari the next. I need to know what you do. Not for the success thing, but it just seemed like he had freedom to pick and choose what he wanted. So I wrote him a letter. He invited me over, said he dropped out of school in 9th grade, immigrated here from Lebanon, and has created this and built his company. and he said, he's very matter of fact. You know, if you've ever met a Lebanese person, they're very straight to the point. And he said, and he kind of made me. He's like, why would you ever go to college? Like for him, it was stupid, you know. And I really rethought everything, and I dropped out before I had a plan. But it was basically that's kind of what I would do.
So you had an idea. At least you had an outcome. You know.
I knew the outcome I wanted, and it wasn't nursing.
Okay.
And so
that's very interesting that you say that. You ask a lot of people the level of happiness, and when you go to corporate world, some people, I mean, at the beginning, there's a learning gap. You go and you all go in, and then it burns out really quick. 2 years, 1 year in, and you're already out. So, wow, that's interesting. Of course, people from Lebanon, my friends that are from Lebanon, they are very
I love them.
hardcore,
I love them.
businessmen. I know that for sure.
It still
What
pushes
about you,
me.
man?
I think it all kind of stems back from my mom. She was fiercely independent, and she lived in quite a large family. And she was the first one out of the entire family that was a girl that moved away from the house before being married. And that kind of set the foundation for her independence. And then I inherited that independence just from being around her. And when I went to college, I realized that being in an environment like this has nothing to do with independence. You go to class, you don't really learn independently. You basically just have someone spoon feeding you information. And then, you know, that spilled over into everything that I did. And once I realized that I wanted to create something of my own and not work for somebody and be independent and be 100% in control of how much I make, when I make it, when I work, then from there on it was.
Because your father was an engineer, is an engineer, right?
Yeah, so my dad was actually an entrepreneur by happenstance as
Okay.
well. So he just happened to fall into ownership of a company, and then he was just really, really good at just general operations that everybody else just kind of fell by the wayside, and
Right.
he was the last person standing. So now he owns the majority of a company, an engineering firm in South Africa. So I'd say, you know, from an independent standpoint, both of my parents, they deeply rooted in independence, and that's kind of where it all stemmed from. And it's like a virus. Once you know, it doesn't go back.
So very quickly, these guys got the concept proven to say we can do this on our own terms. You know, learning in your hands, pretty much. Venture addicts. What's up with that?
So Venture Addicts was it actually just simply an Instagram page that we started back in 2014, 2015 when I was still in school. You know, we would get a week-long break from school, and then me and our editor Jacob, we would maybe save up $100 a piece and just pay for the flight somewhere. You know, our first trip was to Denver, Colorado, on the cheapest airlines for $62, and we brought a GoPro and my phone, and we were like, oh, we're gonna make the coolest
How
video.
long ago was this?
2 years ago, 3
Okay.
years ago. I think I just looked back at our old footage and saw that our first trip was taken about 2 or 3 years ago, and we had never held cameras before ever. You know, we were like, okay, we're gonna create cool content because we saw content on Instagram, and you see the cool pictures and videos because, you know, it's a way to express yourself. It's a way to show, you know, the vision that you have. And we sucked when we started. It was terrible. But from then, you know, the second trip we
But
took.
it was the best that you could produce at a time.
Oh
right?
yeah,
So,
you know, it was like we used the cameras that we had. We really enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
like in the grand scheme of things, we look back at it now. We're like, damn, we've really come a long way. So we started taking regular trips. So Venture Addicts was the documenting of our trips that we were taking. You know, it was mostly mountain climbing, hiking. You know, we really like the outdoors and showing the beauty of nature. So it was like documenting that and creating the coolest visuals possible
Visuals
for it.
was.
Yeah.
Now I get a question for both of you. 23 full millennials, you know, going into owning a business. They're officing right now from one of the companies that inspired me to open this co-working, which is called WeWork. They're now in Houston, and being in an office already so fast, you know, picking up, you know, some sort of success already. How do you see two type of industries? Number one, that a lot of young people that I see, they want to become influencers, whatever that may mean, you know? I want to influence people to do something, you know? And you go to social media and all the messages and everything is filled of like, get up in the morning, I can do this, and it's becoming annoying to a point. How do you guys separate from that portion, and why do you guys choose to be in the media industry? Media, branding, strategic branding industry.
You want to take that one?
So I think one of the biggest reasons why we're in the industry and what we have now is just generally the skills that we have. from what they've done with Venture Addicts, it was what they were doing, and then how do we make a business around that? And then that's kind of when I came in. We landed our first client, or actually before that, really, and it was just Tim. Like you're the one that doesn't have a job right now, so can you go and film, and then let's just throw this thing together.
You.
Yeah. So
So
I
you
actually.
you were the one that started filming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was the one that started filming and going out to our very first client.
Wow.
We did vlogs for him, so I would go out like 3 times a week and spend, I don't know, probably 8 to 10 hours a day with him, literally just following him around. We'd upload the footage. Jacob, our editor, would edit that, and then we had a full vlog. And so that's how it all came together. But what you were saying with being an influencer, how scalable is being an influencer?
Here's my question. Being an influencer is a business model, and in Colombia, there's this one girl, girl, I don't know, it's 29 or 25, 30, I don't know. She used to work for TV and media production, and now she's one of the most well-known managers for YouTubers. So she created an enterprise and a company to be a platform, and I see that you're more of a platform for influencers and for companies to get quality content, which is video, by the way, video, graphics, sound, and a huge strategy around that.
Yeah, and that's the thing with being an influencer. Starts out kind of like a one-person deal, and then the way you scale that is by creating some sort of a platform. So if you're an influencer, you have to bring some sort of tangible something to the table, whether that is the looks to drive the clicks or to drive the traffic or whatever, or it's the media that you create. And when you can create a system and a process around that, then you can actually scale that, and then it actually really becomes a business. Because if you just want to be self-employed, that's great up until a certain point. Because one day you're going to be sick, you're not going to be able to work, and the money's going to stop coming in.
Yeah, by the way, you work triple. Then when you're an employee for somebody, you work a lot less than when you are your own employee, when you work for yourself. So, what services are you offering? You know, if anybody out there, you know, my real estate people out there, this morning I had a conversation, if you're 17 or 15 to create your YouTube channel and all these things, how can you help companies right now? What specific services?
The first service is video creation, and that sounds really simple, but what we are really good at, and what sets us apart from anybody else, you know, that we've talked to, is if you said, hey, I want a video about this or whatever. If you wanted a video, and I would, you know, ask you a couple questions like, what do you want the video to say to your audience? But like with those 2 sentences, we can take that vision and make it into a complete production. You know, and really bringing vision to the table is something that really separates. You know, anybody can pick up a camera and say, hey, what do you want me to shoot? And then we can spend all day you telling me what to do. But when I can come up to you and say, hey, what do you want this video to say to your customer? And I'll get that customer to buy. So we'll do that. And then what that turnkeys into is getting people to see it. So like on social media, we're really good at getting people to see videos.
Yeah, Venture Addicts. I'm going to go back over here and retag everybody except Instagram. So if anybody on Instagram can type @Venture Addicts, please, I will appreciate it. Now that y'all trying to make sure.
We just hit 10,000 followers last night. So
Last night, 10,000 followers on Instagram. So congratulations. I'm jealous. I'm always jealous with the brother.
hey, we got
I told this YouTuber that you guys are make connect. Don't be jealous. I said I am. I mean, jealous in a good way. She started in 2013, so you know it makes a lot of sense. Now, what about strategy? What about, you know, because one thing is the production of the content. Are you also providing strategy for the companies?
Yes, a lot of stuff that we do is, look, ultimately, when you're selling a product, you're selling a service, you're selling something, you're ultimately trying to get somebody to feel something. If you're a CPA, you're trying to get someone to feel comfortable with you so that you can hand over your sacred books into your company, right? And you're looking deep into someone's baby.
Exactly.
When you're selling a product, you want someone, you're trying to sell the feeling of that person using the product. And that ultimately is a strategy. So one of our clients that we had in New York, they're called Try the World. And what we decided to do was they sold snacks from around the world, just in a monthly box, right? But they're not really selling the snacks. They're actually selling the feeling of traveling, right? And so what we decided to do is, why don't we make a travel video then? I'll buy my ticket, I'll do all of that, and then I'll also buy a box, have it delivered to my house, and go visit my cousin in Hong Kong.
Okay.
I'm going to film the entire thing.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's the strategy behind how do you get somebody to feel something?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get the entire brand to evoke emotion rather than just saying, here are the features. We want to show you what the benefits
Oh, very
are.
powerful. I hope you guys are taking notes
Yeah,
over there.
take some notes.
These videos are going to be floating around, except Instagram, which is going to disappear tomorrow at the same time today. So please connect these guys over here on the description on right here on Facebook. Also, I'll make sure they go back on the YouTube on my live session. That's what it's going to be called. They're not grouped yet. And if you're in Houston, Texas, please connect with them. If you're not in Houston, you still can connect. The story very quickly, there is an influencer and a business owner, the inventor or the promoter of the word hustler here in the United States called Gary Vaynerchuk. They filmed a video for Gary, so they are featured on his channel, which has got like 500,000 or I don't know how much he's reached right now. Very, very, very powerful. And we actually met because I'm a follower of Gary Vaynerchuk, and then through a friend in common that they were doing a lot of work for his company, we got connected. So we're actually having a project together very soon. That's why I stayed up late last night over here, working for the
No sleep.
executor right here, Mr. Jacob. For that person that is sitting home watching this video and saying, I don't know if college is the right thing for me, or even if I finish college, I want to start my own company. What kind of advice could you give to that especially that young person? Or even some people that have been working for the same company for the last 10 years, that I'm done, I want to start my own thing. What kind of advice would you give that person?
The main thing, and it kind of goes back to that story that I told about writing that guy a letter, and it really it kind of plays into how we worked with Gary Vee too. Find the people that are successful in your area and just ruthlessly go after getting in contact with them. So like I said, I wrote that guy the letter, and and he gave me the opportunity to have a conversation with him. I saw that Gary Vee was coming to Houston, and Tim helped out a lot with this too. But I saw that Gary Vee was coming to Houston. He said, I need a videographer. Help me out. Answer me on Twitter. So I tweeted him and I said, hey, I can be your videographer. No answer. No answer. No answer. A lot of people were reaching out. We were like, we're going anyway. So we took our camera. We went. And I was the first person to his face, and I said, "Hey, I'm the guy your guys said they picked. I'm the."
You made it.
And so he was like, "Oh, great. He doesn't know. He has so many things going on. He doesn't know." So I said, "Yeah, I'm the guy. I'm gonna be your videographer." And he's like, "Great." That's how I got hooked up with him. And so the things that, but a lot of people would just not have gone. They didn't get answered. They didn't get a yes. They didn't. So for me, it's easy to give advice on this because I know the video space. But find the content creators that you're if you're into video, and find a way to connect with them and shoot for them for free or shoot with them for free. Say you want to learn how to shoot and offer them some value. Like I did one recently. A guy with 100,000 followers came to Houston. Is way better than us at video.
Correct.
Yeah, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey man, I see you're coming to Houston. Do you want to shoot together?" And I ended up shooting a whole event with him, just because I sent him a DM on Instagram. So it's my number one advice would be get in contact with the people that are successful.
And that London, the contract that we ended up connecting.
That's the most that's the reason that we've experienced
I'm
success.
gonna question now for Tim right here. Fear is the number one obstacle for a lot of people. Fear is like motivation, in my case. But I turn it after a bunch of experiences. What can you tell that person that has been sitting behind the fence and want to get into an industry that they actually don't know very much, but they want to get into that industry? They've been passionate about whatever industry it may be. What kind of advice would you give to that person to get started?
I think a big thing is perspective. And when I say that, I mean that we live in the best time ever, right? You live in you can pick up, you get your phone and you can look up anybody. You can get YouTube videos for anything. You have all of this information at your fingertips. And I mean, of course, that's the very, very first thing you do is you research. You have to, exactly what Max said, is you have to find the people in that industry and you have to reach out to them. Do you know how many millionaires there are that
So
you
reach
don't
out,
know their
so
name?
reach out to that
You-
one mentor, right?
Either or a lot of them. The,
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, like, there are so many millionaires out there, or people who have done very, very successful things that you don't know their name. Nobody knows their name. Why do you? Who's gonna turn down a kid that says, "Hey, you're successful. I'd love to be able to talk to you."
Gary Vaynerchuk says, if you want shadow somebody, work for that person for 1 or 2 years. If you want to replicate at least that level of success in that industry, and I am 100%, not because I'm saying I'm promoting free
Yeah,
labor.
you just want
because-
free employees.
but I'm saying, look, if you're able to shadow somebody, it's better than any college education. With all the respect, my OU, my UT, my NYU, my Princeton, Harvard University, you name it. It's
But that's already what you're doing to an extent. When you go to college, right? You have a professor standing up there, and they've got years of experience. So ultimately, what you're doing is you're just paying somebody when you go to college to try and get as much experience from them as possible.
correct.
If you shadow somebody on the job, not only are you not paying for it, you're only essentially paying your time. You're getting them and actually learning, but now you're getting on the job training as well.
You're getting the workshop, the hands-on.
So the thing is just like people think like I have to have that piece of paper. Ultimately, everything ties back to the market. Everything. So if you actually provide value, that's what's gonna get you paid. Everything is value.
Exactly. One of the things that we do over here on this live session that we try to keep it as short as possible, because I know you're going to lunch or coming from lunch or whatever you're doing if you're in America, if you're in Asia, if you're in Europe, maybe you're getting up from work, you're going to your yoga class, gym, coffee, whatever you're doing. So we're going to keep it short over here, but please, please, please connect, send them a message. If you want to pick their brains, if you want to hire their services, highly recommend it. I'm going to go back and link all the websites. Cool video that is like, I've seen it like 10 times already, that is very welcoming and is very detailed and is very storytelling with the two of you speaking at the end, which is a great strategy to tell a message without any words. I'm gonna link it over here. This is us for the day, and well, thank you guys so much for coming over here. We got work to do, I know.
Appreciate it, dude.
Still setting this little thing over here for you to be exposed to a lot of people that already took the leap of faith and action into business, one-on-one entrepreneurship, and management, because at the end of the day, you got to do management. Any questions? Let us know. And if you believe that these videos have any kind of value message to you, do a favor, make a comment, tag a friend, share it, like it, subscribe to their channel, which is, what's the YouTube channel?
Venture Addicts. So
Venture
same
Addict-
thing on Instagram and
Everything.
YouTube.
YouTube as well, right?
Mhm.
Connect with them, subscribe, learn, hire them, collaborate with them, and I will continue to bring more and more stories, because I cannot tell you how much fun since I started this project I'm having, man. It's insane.
Good stuff.
So thank you, Rico, for bringing all this over here. And guys, have an amazing day. We will come back with more and more entrepreneurs and hustlers in Houston and around the world. Guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
All right, this is when I say goodbye, guys. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you.
It's a lot of video work.
Man, I know.
We need to get one of these. I want one of those so bad.
What I
That's so
normally
good.
do is like I have